You guys, welcome back to King Ols. And yes, breaking news today, massive news in the boxing world. David Benavidez has officially moved up to light heavyweight and will be fighting Alexander Vostik. Let's be real. This is actually a tough fight for David Benavidez, to be completely honest with you. It is. But this whole Canelo fight now is completely off, basically. But the good thing, though, about David Benavidez versus Alexander Vostik is that, of course, David Benavidez, if he gets the job done, well, if either of them get the job done, then we will see the winner fight Benavidez, the winner of Benavidez, we will see the winner of Benavidez, Vostik versus Beterbiev and Bivol. Massive fights that are to be made. So, we need David Benavidez to win this fight, of course, because him versus Beterbiev or Bivol are absolutely massive fights. Whoever wins that, either guy's a massive fight for David Benavidez. But yeah, the Canelo fight now, the thing is, though, is it doesn't make sense fully why this has been done. Is it because David Benavidez knows that he's not going to be able to get that Canelo fight? And does he feel like he's being messed around by Canelo and the PBC for why this fight's not happening? Or was this David Benavidez's plan to move up to light heavyweight? And that's why he's not in the names to fight Canelo, because it might have been that Benavidez felt like he was struggling a little bit to make super middleweight, so he's moving up to light heavyweight. And I do feel like this is a good move for David Benavidez, so I do think it's a good move for him. I feel like he's going to look a lot better at light heavyweight, to be fair. If you just look at his stature, let's be real, he's a natural light heavyweight, if we're being real. He is. This is basically Benavidez's natural weight, and this is where he will look at his best, in my opinion. And we'll see an even better Benavidez than we got at super middleweight. And super middleweight, David Benavidez was an extremely dangerous guy. He's going to be really dangerous for a lot of light heavyweights, in my opinion. And he's a real dangerous matchup for everyone, in my opinion. He's a really dangerous matchup. Benavidez and Alexander Vostik. This is an interesting fight, in my opinion. I'll quickly talk about this. I'll talk about the Beterbiev Bivol versus Benavidez, and then we'll go on about the Benavidez Canelo situation. So, David Benavidez versus Alexander Vostik. I feel like this is a good fight for Benavidez. I believe it's for a WBC title. Hang on, it's for the interim WBC title, of course, because Bivol and Beterbiev are going at it for all the belts. So interim title for the WBC. And it's at light heavyweight, so it's not at super middleweight. I'm gonna get onto the whole Canelo situation soon. But yeah, overall, just talking about how I feel like this fight would go. I feel like it's a really good fight, to be honest with you. I feel like it's a good fight for Benavidez to get into the swing of things. Alexander Vostik's only loss is to Arthur Beterbiev. So, Vostik did not look bad in that in that Beterbiev fight either, to be honest with you. He didn't look bad. He's a real He's a real good skilled boxer, to be honest with you. He is. I feel like, to keep it simple with how I feel like this fight will go, I feel like Vostik will be probably picking up the earlier rounds. That's what you usually see happen anyway. Benavidez kind of needs to grow his way into his fights, and once Benavidez will get into his rhythm, he'll eventually start to break Vostik down, get into his rhythm, break him down. And, David Benavidez always ends up outworking you, really, because his cardio is fantastic. So he always ends up outworking you, can come into the fight later on and really start breaking you down. That's what he did against Demetrius Andrade. He starts slow, but he builds his way into his fights and just breaks you down and can eventually just get you out of there. And I feel like that's what's going to happen here. Both it will look good. It'll be boxing well, be in and out. But I mean, to be fair though, it's interesting. You know, both guys similar height. I think they are the same height, both 6'2", similar reach as well. But yeah, I feel like Vostic's going to be the more slick boxer here, but eventually Benavidez will catch up to him. Vostik won't be able to keep Benavidez off him for too long, in my opinion, until Benavidez just breaks him down, and his cardio is just gonna show, and it's going to play a big factor as Benavidez just breaks you down until he eventually gets you out of there. So that's what's going to happen. I feel like Benavidez will probably win this fight mid to late rounds. That's what I'm saying. Okay, next. David Benavidez, Dmitry Bivol, or Artur Beterbiev. Again, I feel like both of these fights are really interesting fights. They are. Let's be real. I feel like the fight that interests me the most between the Benavidez Bivol or Benavidez Beterbiev, I feel like Benavidez versus Beterbiev is the most interesting out of those ones, in my opinion. Because, you know, both guys are just really, they're both just going to be really going at it. Both guys hit ridiculously hard. And, you know, both guys have got two interesting styles as well. Be a good clash of styles, this one, in my opinion. Two knockout artists going at it. It's a really interesting fight, Benavidez and Beterbiev. It is. I honestly, I'm not sure how this will go. I feel like getting this fight, it kind of like pays off for not getting Benavidez and Canelo, in my opinion. I feel like if we look at Benavidez versus Bivol, I feel like overall, Bivol's a harder matchup and more of an awkward matchup for Benavidez, in my opinion, than Beterbiev is. But with Benavidez and Beterbiev, we'll get a better fight than we will Benavidez and Bivol. But Bivol's a harder stylistic matchup for the Benavidez, in my opinion, 100%. But yeah, but both are fantastic fights. Both are fantastic fights. I don't know who's fully gonna be able to get the better. I'd like to see how Benavidez does against Alexander Vostik. Then I feel like I'd start to talk more on Benavidez versus Bivol or Benavidez versus Beterbiev. That I feel like, you know, let's see how good Benavidez looks at light heavyweight first, and then we can start to judge a bit more, in my opinion. Okay, last but not least, obviously the whole David Benavidez and Canelo situation. Will this fight actually ever happen? Honestly, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I have no idea if this fight will actually ever happen. And sorry, it's a shame. It is a shame. Because I feel like this is a fight that we've been wanting as boxing fans for a really long time. We've been really chasing this, like, you know, we've been really wanting it for a long time. But I don't know, it just seems like Benavidez's side wants it much more than Canelo's side. And then eventually Benavidez he was like, I have a feeling Benavidez just got fed up with it, man. I honestly do. I feel like, you know, because Canelo, he has a big say in who he fights, calls the shots. Let's be real, he has a big say. And, you know, I feel like what Canelo was trying to do, I feel like Canelo was trying to get Benavidez at super middleweight when Benavidez was the weakest possible at the weight. That's what I feel like Canelo was trying to do. Then he would have taken that fight in Saudi for a big payday. I made a video on that situation the other day. But, you know, now we've got even more updates on it. I'm not sure if this fight happens. It's a shame. But look, at least we get Benavidez versus Beterbiev or Bivol. But again, no. This isn't good for Canelo because it just... I know, it just doesn't really cement his legacy properly. But for Benavidez, I'm really happy for him that he's moving up. I feel like it's a good choice for him. Because clearly he wasn't getting what he wanted at super middleweight. Because he was the bloody WBC mandatory for ages. I don't get why that fight wasn't made. I don't get why that fight wasn't made. Will Benavidez? Because also I'm not even sure if Benavidez will actually want to go back down to super middleweight after this. To be fair, I feel like he's gonna really be wanting to make statements at light heavyweight. There are some big fights for him at light heavyweight, to my opinion. And all that was really left for Benavidez at super middleweight was Canelo, really. I mean, but clearly from everything we've heard, that it's like Canelo hasn't really got too much intention to fight David Benavidez at the moment. So, I feel like it's the right choice for Benavidez to move up. But the big downside to it, though, is that we're not going to get the Canelo fight. But a bit of that's because Canelo was probably messing him around, most likely, from, I feel like, what we've been hearing and reading from everything that's been going on. Anyway, gonna end this video here. Thanks for watching the video, King. I'll speak to you in a bit. Thanks.